Let's start with the biggest one first, because this was the book that I was hoping to settle into that I actually never did. So the thing about this sketchbook is I have comic pages that I printed out on the back that I was hoping to fill up and finally make stories with, but I didn't. And I'd actually undid the combs here and put them in it and separated out the papers that I have and put the comic pages in between each of these, so that way I would be in it more and do different comics more. But that sadly did not work out whatsoever. In the beginning, my mom had gifted me with a picture of J-Hope that I had kept on my desk to cheer me on while I was working on a very hard project. Once I was done with the project, I stuck him in here to remember that I had lots of encouragement from J-Hope, Hopi One Kanopi, as we call him here in my household. It's a funny thing. This is my little anxiety goblin. I was just trying to personify some of my thoughts. There's a lot of back and forth going on in my head. There are different projects that I worked on. Some of them I kept in here. Some of them were just random doodles of thoughts or shapes that I made in this book. And then of course we have different practices, like I was trying to draw what a farmer would look like or what I wanted a farmer to look like. And then we have different food monsters here. I redrew Loki from an old comic that I did. And then more farmer things because I wasn't happy with the first one. And my pen kind of exploded on me and made a whole bunch of marks. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make them on this paper and then draw over top of it. And we have masks. I was playing a game called Apothecaria. I'm still technically playing it. I'd like to finish it and I'll share that with you all eventually. So I wanted to use the card that I was referencing and design a character that felt like what the druid was. I'm still not quite sure I'm happy with it. This one's my favorite because it looks like a little bird with a hermit shell. There is one thing that I had fun with. There was a D&D filter that would randomly generate a character for you based off of your image. I got Dwarf Ranger, which was very strange, and I went for it and drew out what the character would be like with these stats. Her name is Broomtha Hardgrace, a dwarf ranger who is actually not very wise and great with nature. So knows about their medical properties, but not the smartest when it comes to actually applying that knowledge. One of the things that I enjoyed was doing different prompts, and the prompt for that day happened to have been clowns. They are fun and a little creepy, and I wanted to do them in different shapes, so I drew random little lines on the paper and then drew them based off of their shapes. This is more imagery for Apothecaria, the game that I was playing. So the nice thing that you can begin to see is the difference in my line work compared from the beginning of the book to kind of around the middle. And you can see when I was really deep into the project and my line work was very sketchy and not as strong as it is here. Here you can see it's more focused, and you have a stronger sense of being and line work. There's not as many gaps and spaces in between. It's really good. Honestly, those are not even my words of how I did this, of what I was talking about, of the critique of my own work. Actually, somebody who I am friends with, who is a fellow art colleague, since he works at a college, it's very common for him to randomly start critiquing a piece of work in a sketchbook when I share it with him or when he shares his stuff. So it's very nice. I have more different character thoughts and ideas. This one is very fun. We did a photo shoot a little while ago. Let me see if I have the image, because I still have a lot of my books around me. Yes, here it is. We did a photo shoot, and my fun question was, what would our characters be if they were D&D players? So, based off of our outfits for that day. So we have a K-pop stan for my good friend, and then we have they were already dressed up as a fawn, so I just made them even more fawn-like with the background of Fae Child, and they're one of the lost ones, a random little homebrew thing that I found, and the K-pop stan fighter class has the isekai background. And then, of course, my character, actually, I usually go with like druid or bard or ranger. Those are my favorite classes. But this happened to be sorcerer from a lost civilization. So that is a fun thing, and I loved the idea so much that I had to draw it out in action poses. I've been trying to draw more action shots and scenes because they make me happy, especially when I'm trying to fill up the whole page. It's so much easier to fill up a whole page. My prompt was never-ending time, aliens, and chickens. I think I nailed it. That is a time chicken that is very alien. For a minute, I was using the Story Wars cards to help think out a story and try and finish it in 10 minutes. It worked out sometimes. And then I randomly took a ship drawing class to get a better idea of how to do different spaceship designs and what they're based off of, and thinking about what would work best for an animation idea I had. And then here are the designs I went with. It kind of looks like the Batmobile, not gonna lie. And I find this absolutely darling. I still kind of wanted to include more rounder shapes and make it a bit more softer, but ultimately I think for that project, if I'm going to continue it, I'm going to go with that one, which I might. I still really like it. I think I did a good job on it. I started out the day not really being able to draw very well, and I got so upset about it that I continued to push through the frustration and just make shapes on the paper until I made something rather nice. I might come back and ink this. This character goes along with the spaceship design. She's the pilot, and I absolutely adore her. Some fairy tale creatures and more dragon action scenes. I love drawing dragons when I don't know what else to draw. I got really into this deer shape for a minute here, especially with the crazy horns that have holes in them, and especially after having rewatched Princess Mononoke, since it's been a while since I had watched it. And then Art 2022 happened, and here are some of the characters that I redrew. They were very fun. I wanted to really get into detail with them and make them seem very powerful and really work on that kind of action pose, because I no longer really wanted to do stagnant characters. I didn't end up finishing this character in time. I just wasn't in the place that I wanted to be to regularly do this. I didn't even get to post to this character either. Maybe I will pass it forward to the new year. Who knows? Probably not though. And then I have my birds here that I started to draw. These are phoenixes, and I even have the original drawing here of what I wanted the redraw to be. I was just trying to think of how I wanted the bird to look and pull it together more into my updated style. I will still probably draw this. This is very 90s anime, 2000s anime wings. I still love the over-exaggerated detail in it. And I've studied enough birds that I'm like, I can't fully go with that style. So, which is why I went with this style, which is a bit more accurate. Not by much, but it still works. And I probably will come back and put in different details into the wings. It wasn't meant to be this detailed, but you know how life happens. For a little while, I was using this drawing as a stress relief because repeatedly drawing tree after tree after tree is very soothing. It's a map for a little place in a game that I was participating in. I needed to visualize the space a little bit better, and so that is why I drew the outpost as I saw it. And then some redraws. I needed to calm my brain goblins down, and somebody sent me a very cute comic that was the stories we tell ourselves to get to sleep, and I definitely tell myself stories to get to sleep, usually involving a dragon somehow in some way. So I imagine my thoughts, you know, how sort of like Inside Out, and personifying them. This is what I would personify the inside of my head to look like. Here is the character Toast Warrior, a redraw from an old comic. I finally have the skills to really push it to where I want to be. At the time that I had originally drawn the comic, I was not very happy with myself and with my artwork and just with a lot of things. And so, although it was fun at the time, it wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, and now I have the skills to make it what I want it to be. This is the year of redrawing. You will probably see this character way more. Here's another character from Toast Warrior, and that was really fun to draw. I actually have colored this one, and I'm coloring the other one currently digitally since I need practice at it. And I felt like her just having one foot here was weird, so I added another foot in digitally, and that made it look so much better. Trying to draw these comics, I would actually go onto Pinterest, and whatever drawing that day piqued my interest, I would include it in a panel. So that way it would make a random story of all of these pictures together. Did it work out? No, it sadly didn't. But since I'm still not quite out of this sketchbook, because I do want to finish up these comic pages that I have, even if they're a little strange, I will probably do that. I would only choose one image and make a comic based off of that one image. So there was a cavern image that popped up from National Geographic on my feed. Like I said, I always default to dragons, and since my default to dragons happen to be in cave exploration, I decided to put that. I just thought it was funny that the dragon was late, and apparently I drew this comic on March 31st, 2022. So I just used that date. Random existential talk of in an abandoned car where there is a dead person that is stuck there, and the plant that is growing next to him, that is the dead person's buddy. An idea from a comic or animation that I eventually want to get out there. I really want to get out there. I was on a walk, and this cat, it didn't have one eye, but it gave me the one eye vibes just randomly while I was walking. And I wanted to make a comic out of it. Super creepy. Sometimes something will remind me of something I want to draw, or I'll look at a comic panel and then I'll be like, oh, I like the way they've phrased something like that, and I'll add it in, or I'll be practicing poses. I got into some dramatics here, and that's it. I have a bird because I liked this face for whatever reason, so I started including that with a bird. Oh, so I forgot about this. I'm glad I remembered. I was at the airport trying to decide what to do, and they happened to have had a full display of a lot of old cruiser models that they were carrier models for carrying people from destination to destination. I really liked it, and I was feeling exploratory. Made it like the airplane person was flying, right? Because I drew the panel here because I was out of pages for before. And then there's a dragon person next to it, flying the dragon. And then I saw that they had uniforms there, and I played with the different style of uniform. Of course, like I said, I default to dragons a lot, so whatever military, they have dragon companions, and I adore that idea. I'm going to finish out the rest of this book eventually, probably pretty soon, with the way I'm redrawing things, and maybe make them into comics, so that way I can have something fun to show that I've done, because I want to tell more stories, and I struggle with getting those stories out. So maybe this will help.